wife and I are going to a wedding reception. I thought about shooting myself in the foot to get out of it, but we are going to dinner afterwards, so this is an impromptu video. I've been kind of thinking about it just honestly a few minutes before we left the house, but I wanted to ask my wife some things, so she has no idea what this is going to be about. She's probably worried.
I am.
So, I don't know, I kind of wanted to talk about, I don't know if we'll do the EDC thing. Sorry guys, I'm going to have to do the best I can with this. Or...
My EDC?
No.
Oh.
Yours is boring. Or your
to
lack
your half
thereof.
of the audience.
Or guns, specifically. And so, what was the first date we went on? What did we do?
We went shooting in the desert.
We went shooting in the desert. That was our first date. And then, so I guess just to fast forward, what do you think about me carrying a gun everywhere we go?
I don't mind it. It's pretty normal. It's always been like that. I feel safer. I guess I like it.
So, one thing to understand a little bit is that my wife, her dad had a gun or two when they were growing up. I think he ended up selling them. He likes them, doesn't have anything against them, but wasn't serious about having them in the house or anything. So
I think we only ever had a shotgun in the house or something like that. I don't think we ever had pistols in the house that I knew about.
So it's not a completely foreign subject to her.
Well, I was gonna say that when we first started talking about getting married, I didn't want guns in the house. I was against guns in the house. But I knew that kind of came with you. That was the package. I was gonna get you without the guns. But
so take note from this. If you're gonna date, make sure you get that one out on the table.
Yeah. I knew from day one, if I didn't take the guns, I wouldn't take him.
So it bothered you, though, thinking of guns in the house.
Yeah.
Why?
I had really young siblings. We weren't really around guns. Ever. I think I had shot maybe twice in my whole life, and it wasn't with my dad, it was with a friend's family. And I was scared of them. And I was scared that siblings would get into them, if they came to stay with us or whatever. But then we got that gun safe, and just kind of watching how you handled the gun, I got over it. And the deal was, if anybody was in the house, the guns would be locked up, and so it was fine, and it's been fine all of these years.
It's been interesting. When I was single and living on my own, my guns were just laying around. I didn't have to have them locked up. I wasn't worried about them. What concerns me now, and my boys are pretty good. My second oldest, I got to worry about him a little bit. But what worries me more, honestly, is the neighbors' kids, because I don't know them. I don't know how they react. I don't know what they've been taught, what they haven't been taught. So I don't leave guns laying around the house, and that is a big factor of why. Generally speaking, it's on my hip, because I don't want to lock it up. All my guns are locked up with the exception of one, and that's the one that I'm CCWing. And generally it's on my hip, or there is one place, and I won't go into details, that I keep it. I'll just say that I hide it somewhere, and that's just at night. Other than that, it is on my hip. And again, most of that is to protect it from the neighbor kids that I don't know very well. They run around the house, you gotta be careful.
I really like that you have showed the guns to the kids a lot, our kids, and let them handle them in a controlled environment, I guess, so that when their friends are over, if they did ever see one, it wouldn't be like this big, exciting thing for them. To them, it's kind of like, oh, yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, I've seen that, held that, shot that. It's not that big of a deal. And we've also had a couple of friends, we have never done it, but a couple of friends asked to have them bring their kids over and have him show them his guns because they don't have guns around the house. And this friend of mine, she's afraid that if their kids ever did come across the gun, they would be really curious about it and maybe something bad would happen.
That's one thing I really try to do with my kids, is not to make it a secretive thing. Okay, shifting gears here.
I get nervous when you say that.
There was one incident, well actually there's been probably a handful, but one in particular that I'm thinking about. And just a minute, I'm trying to think of where I need to go here. I can't remember if I've talked about this on camera or not, but do you remember the time when we were helping Uncle Bingo move?
Uh-huh.
And give me your honest feelings. I don't know if I've told this story or not, so let me preface it real quick. I'll make it short. A guy was in the apartment and he was helping us move, right? He shouldn't have been there. He was on drugs. The situation was getting tense. We got him out of the house. We deadbolted the door. And by this time, I was just standing on the other side of the doors. He's trying to open it and get back in, but I had my gun on me. What were your thoughts?
I guess there's two sides to it. I feel protected on one side, but on the other side, I really don't want you to have to shoot somebody just because of all of the aftermath that would come with that. But my first thought would be that I felt better because I didn't know what that guy had on him, and my sister's there. She's pregnant. Was I pregnant?
Yep.
Yeah, and we already had a baby, so I don't want anything to happen to anybody.
Again, this conversation is not rehearsed between the two of us. My wife has no idea what I'm going to talk about and ask her about. But she brings up a really good point that I think a lot of people gloss over or don't want to think about, is how she said it, the aftermath. And that's why in that situation I chose to shut the door and deadbolt it. Problem solved. Am I glad I had a sidearm with me? Yes I am. But I'm going to avoid it at all costs if possible, and that will be a last resort.
And I do know that about you, that's your philosophy and stuff, and so I feel like you really try to de-escalate things. Anyway, I just know that if there is a situation that you're going to try to de-escalate it and not have to use your gun, and that makes me feel better because I am terrified that someday you will have to shoot somebody. And just what that would do, I mean, just, even if it's self-defense, you're going to have to go through all of the legal crap, emotionally, what that would do to you, to the family.
And that's one thing a lot of people don't think about too, is that it's very oversimplified saying, well, a good shoot is a good shoot. Well, okay, that might be right, but even if you're let off in the criminal courts, and this is actually delving into a future video that I'm thinking of doing, you are still potentially civilly liable. So there's those two things to consider. I mean, I think a lot of people in getting their CCW really don't think about it as much in depth as they should.
Well, in the movies always show people getting into an altercation, somebody shoots somebody and it's a legitimate shot, and then the next day they're out to dinner laughing with their friends. That's kind of how you grow up watching it and seeing that that's how it is, and I don't think that that's how it is.
There was one guy a little while ago on one of my gun vids, and I talked about some of the situations that I de-escalated while driving, and he just jumped all over that and said, well, he must drive like a jerk because he's always getting in these situations. And honestly, guys, the reality is I'm very observant, and I pay attention to what's going on around me, and I notice a lot of things. In fact, my my wife's sister mentioned that to me once. She says, wow, you notice a lot of things that go on. And I know a lot of you guys are like that too. Some people, they go through life and they just put on these blinders. They don't see anything. Whereas...
That's me.
that's you. Where people who are like you guys or like myself, generally, we're a little more observant. Not paranoid, there's a difference. But observant of our surroundings. And that's where I notice a lot of these things. And
a funny fact about you, whenever we go anywhere, a restaurant or anywhere that we would be sitting down, I always know that I have to sit in a certain spot, because if he doesn't have a full view of the whole room, well, you don't. I mean, he makes me move. Like, he says, trade me spots or whatever. He wants to see the door. He wants to see the exits. He wants to be able to see as much of the room as possible at all times. And it's kind of funny.
And I've been that way for a long time.
Ever since I've known you.
Yeah.
If I sit on the wrong side of the table, I'm asked to move nicely.
She's politely asked if I could sit in that spot.
But that hasn't happened for years. That was pretty much when we were dating, before I knew what was going on. Now I just know where I'm supposed to sit.
I've trained her well. Yeah. This is going to sound... This conversation sounds very strange to some people. It sounds very foreign, and it sounds very... what's the word? Like I'm filled with paranoia, and it's really not. It's simply being observant, and it has got me out of a lot of sticky situations, and it has also helped in certain situations. I got plenty of stories that just being observant has helped. I'm just letting this run, guys. I don't know where this conversation is going, and we're kind of tailoring it around the CCW, the mindset, I guess, to lighten it up somewhat. What do you think about my flashlight and my knife as part of my EDC?
I make fun of you about the flashlight. However, I've used it a bunch of times too.
Okay, did you guys hear that? And I've got the same story from you guys. Everyone teases you about your flashlight, but then all of a sudden everyone's asking for it.
The knife too. Only I've never teased about the knife, and I kind of wish I could carry a knife, but I just have, babies climbing all over me all the time, and I just kind of don't even want to deal with that. Same thing with a gun. Someday I will carry a gun. Right now it's too much for me to worry about, with the babies being so small and the other kids, and I just don't want to deal with that right now. Someday I will, and someday I'll carry a knife too, but your knife and flashlight do come in handy. I still tease him though. He's got flashlights stashed all over the house.
And they've come in handy, haven't they?
Yeah.
It's probably gone on long enough. I just thought it would be fun to see if we get a video out of it. Maybe, maybe not. Anything else you want to add?
No, that wasn't as scary as I thought it was going to be. I had no idea what you were going to ask me.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Just a little impromptu discussion with the wife about guns, philosophy behind it, some EDC talk.
He has to make going to a wedding reception bearable somehow.
Okay.
The reason he's going with me so sweetly is because he just went on an overnighter and he owes me.
See my face? That's why it's all red. Got sunburn.
We work on trade.
All right. Thanks, guys. We'll see you later.